With age comes wisdom, experience, and a whole lot of unexpected changes. Welcome to Dad Brain, where two best friends share their journeys through the ups and downs of their 30s. Get ready for the raw and honest realities of growing older. Here are your hosts, Matt K. and Matt L.
Welcome to Dad Brain, the podcast where two lifelong friends discuss maturing in our 30s in the most immature ways possible.
Dad Brain, the transition from the youthful optimism of our 20s into the midlife crisis of our 40s.
I'm Matt K. My wonderful co-host next to me 1,000 miles away. He believes that running a mile a day is a personality.
It was a personality for almost 800 days.
Oh, 800 miles. Minimum. Humble brag.
Minimum 800 miles. Yeah. That was a great introduction. I really appreciate that. The guy sitting 1,000 miles away from me, Matt K, normally is out on the range on these Sundays shooting guns. But he is hella hungover and decided that he didn't want to endanger himself or the people around him. So he put the gun down and picked up the podcast microphone. It's my co-host, Matt K.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
proving that I'm good at making adult decisions when it counts. If Dad Brain is starting to think like our fathers, but the 30s are the new 20s, how fucked are we? We're going to find out today.
I was, this is a little off topic, but I was actually talking to my dad today, and he's getting to the point where he's old enough that, like, he starts trailing off, like, falling asleep. Like, his dad brain will just actively shut off, right? 'Cause
Granddad brain.
He's got granddad brain coming in, which, yeah, it's
the next evolution. This episode's, we're going to really touch on not health, but self-care. And health kind of organically plays into that. But how our routines, our opinions, and just our daily lives have changed in that aspect since we turned 30.
Yeah, man. I think it's super important to also really just define for the audience what we mean when we say self-care, right? We want to definitely put up some boundaries to what we're going to be discussing today because self-care means one thing to me and a different thing to you. So from the onset, let's define what self-care is to you, Matt K.
For me, it's really like the bare minimum to keep myself from feeling like dog shit every day and from being depressed, really. It's just what I do on a daily basis to make sure that I'm the bare minimum of healthy standards.
All I'm hearing is like you burping and your indigestion. Like how many Tums do you have in your system right now?
Actually, I probably should take some. I've got 0.
You probably should take a Tums right now.
I tried to attack this with a sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich and a nitro cold brew.
How fitting that we're talking about self-care because that just sounds
and I
like
dropped the ball.
Sounds exactly like self-care right there. A nitro cold brew and a bacon cheese. Was it a bagel or a croissant?
Whatever Starbucks microwaves for you.
I love them Sammys.
Actually, those little quiches they make are fantastic.
Yeah, like they need more. They need more publicity over there at Starbucks, let me tell you.
Yeah. They're a fledgling company. We should probably get them off the ground.
But for me, Matt, self-care, and you really spoke to it, it's really just the idea of staying physically active. When you are maturing into your 30s, you're not that same person you were in your 20s, obviously, or in your teens, and things start to crack a little bit. It's a little harder to get out of bed in the morning. So the reason I prioritize self-care from the exercise point of view is it's something that I enjoy, it's something that is challenging, and it's something that keeps my mind occupied, right? So when we're talking about self-care, for me, it really falls into two baskets. It has to do with exercise, it has to do with what I'm putting into my body, and then it has to do with being more mindful of the decisions I make as I grow older.
Yeah. And we're not giving advice or saying there's a right way to do this and a wrong way. And I definitely know I benefit from probably a more fitness-oriented daily routine. And I stay physically active, but I could probably incorporate more in, and I would probably see a lot of instantaneous results.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I think a lot of our audience can empathize with, right? Is this idea of being able to make fitness a priority in your life. It becomes more challenging when you have more responsibilities and when you have that dad brain on your shoulders, because with that dad brain comes those responsibilities to your producer, to your family, to your career. So health and wellness and my version of self-care tends to get demoted down that priority list.
Yeah.
But I heard something really something that moved me, and it was, you never see people in the old folks' home who are in great shape, both physically and mentally. Like, they're usually missing one of those things. And that could be for a myriad of reasons, but if you're not prioritizing it, it's going to catch up with you eventually.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to disregard with that, because I think it's true, but also it's a chicken and the egg kind of argument, because you go to assisted living because you're no longer capable of providing your self-care. You can't care for yourself.
Come on, Grandma. They have bingo.
Yeah. For me, self-care really is the biggest thing right now that where I'm at being 33, that I've noticed is my gut health. Just, making sure I'm making wise choices in the kitchen. And I found that I'm happier. I've got more energy. I'm more outgoing. Like, I can say having the impetus to do this podcast with you comes from how I feel. If you, in your gut, if you don't feel good, you're not going to want to do anything. You're not going to put yourself out there. You're not going to want to go to the gym,
Yeah. And, this is not an advice podcast, right? We're not here to give advice. But in terms of gut health, what are some of the things that have worked for you or have made you decide that, this needs to be a priority? Because you're saying that it affects all aspects of your mental well-being, of how you just go about your day. So what are some things that you are doing to improve your gut health?
Oh, off the top, which I fucked this up last night, but Taco Bell's my favorite thing. And up until yesterday, I hadn't had it in over 2 months. And part of the way I'm feeling right now, which, as you let everybody know, is like shit, I think it's because I went to town on some Taco Bell last night. But also just no processed foods, for the most part, cooking everything ourselves, and definitely portion control.
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard to cook for 2 people when everything you buy at the grocery store is for a family of no less than 4 people. Like, you don't need a whole pound of ground turkey for 2 people for taco night.
Sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, just obviously you had a misstep yesterday, right? Like, it happens. It's going to happen as we are maturing. We're going to make these mistakes. And this goes to another part of the self-care you were talking about, is kind of that mental aspect. Like, you made a bad decision last night. You're paying the consequences of that decision today. How long are you going to hold that on to? How long are you going to hold on to that decision? Or have you already let go of it and you're ready to move forward?
Oh, actually, so what yesterday is I met my brother and sister-in-law for brunch. They wanted to take me out to celebrate my past birthday. And so it was, on the physical side, terrible self-care, but we had a blast. And then, we went to brunch, then we went back to their house, and I played with my nephews. Thomas and I had a couple more drinks, and then I came home and kind of just chilled, ate my Taco Bell, and caught up on my Harry Potter movies, and finally watched The Suicide Squad. So that aspect of it, I don't think it was negative. I think I pay the price on one end for it, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it because mentally I feel refreshed.
Yeah. That's one thing that I am always trying to catch myself doing, is not beating myself up over those decisions. Last night, the producer and I, we went to a night of comedy in downtown Tampa, and it was an excellent night. And, we had great food, didn't drink any alcohol the whole entire time, but, I did get myself a late night Slurpee. And
nice.
Instead of beating myself over it, I was like, it's Saturday night. I just had a great night. This is going to be my little nightcap to myself. And I woke up this morning. I got to sleep until 9:30, which I can't wait until we do an episode about sleep.
I got to sleep a killer nap today.
I got to sleep in until 9:30, which, that's a new achievement unlocked for me. So just don't beat yourself up over it. It's so cliche, but there's going to be another day. You get a fresh piece every single day. And that is why I've learned to just be kinder to yourself when you do make those faults.
Yeah. Excuse me. And I don't know about you, how mentally stressful your job is, or your career. Mine's exhausting. Without getting into what I do, but mostly dealing with the public and a lot of entitled people, and even coworkers too, where I'm the guy that everybody comes to with their problems. I leave work a lot of times with all that baggage still around my shoulders. So I could be doing all the health fitness stuff too, but if I'm not releasing my brain, I'm not helping myself, because I feel physically tired because of that emotional weight. And I don't think a lot of people realize that emotional weight is heavier than any barbell. Your 30s you're trying to set up the most comfortable 40s you can. Yep. So you're like, I still have the energy of a 20-year-old to pour into setting up later in life instead of just enjoying yourself.
Yeah. We're both at that point where we're on that ascent, right?
Yeah.
Like you said it perfectly. Like, we had the trajectory mapped out, but now there's nothing left to do but to do it. And there's still a good amount of proving ourselves to get to those positions where we believe that we will be comfortable. But it's really just about enjoying the journey of it all. Even though we are evolving, we have, our dad brain influencing a lot of our decisions, a lot of the things that we do. But yeah, just being able to set ourselves up for success. If that means sending out an email on Sunday, that's fine. If that means getting those Facebook ads up in time for the campaign, then you're going to do it.
Yeah. How has this all changed since you got married? We both got married in our very early 30s. We're still in our early 30s. Okay, not even getting married, but I noticed just having another person that cares about me but also sees me on a daily basis. One, makes me want to be better for them.
Yeah.
And two, lets me know that I have not a support group to fall in on, but they have a vested interest in making sure that I don't fucking kill myself, by overeating or whatever, or just being unhealthy.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily would say that it's changed a lot. When I started, that run thing, it was all in preparation to be in the best shape of my life in time for my wedding. And I was able to accomplish that. But then it becomes like, what is the goal now, right? Like, I am what they consider an achiever. That's one of my strengths, is I'm an achiever. So I need to always be like going towards a goal. But like, for what I'm doing now, the goal is to be healthy enough to be at my daughter's high school graduation, right? To not be the old curmudgeon guy in the stand.
So you want to be the dad that all your daughter's, guy friends are like, man, your dad's buff. Like, can we work out with him sometime?
Yeah. I want them to shit bricks when they come through the door of my home, and they want to, yeah. For you, is it more about like feeling good, or is it more about looking good? Because for me, there's a balance there.
In my 20s, looking good was a huge factor. But I wasn't into mountain biking. Having a six pack or, cutting a good figure was a huge deal for me. And I was definitely self-conscious about my body to a point, probably to a fault. When you get in that mindset where you judge yourself, you judge other people the same way, and then you have negatively high expectations for what people should look like, which isn't good. Even if you don't ever tell anybody that, it definitely, your outward actions and, dating and stuff like that are all affected. And you don't treat people as humans as much as you should.
Yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy. So just hold on to that one. I have to remind myself of it a lot. And it can also be comparing yourself to when you were in your 20s, right? When you had that six pack, when you had that Superman t-shirt, when you had those off-brand hot dogs in the freezer, when you lived on the ground because you didn't have a box spring. Like, comparing yourself to that person isn't even healthy, right? Because you are different now. Your mind has evolved, your body has evolved, and just understanding how to make those changes even with that evolution that is happening.
I mean, that person may have looked good in the mirror, but he was a fucking piece of human garbage. I mean, but I think we all go through that. It's a recent movie that just came out. Maybe you missed it. I would say we all have a Shallow Hal phase. Have you seen that movie? I think it's in theaters right now. But, you know, when I was 20, I was shallow. And then it all changes. You're still kind of shallow in your 30s, but you view things a lot differently.
The fact that you said Shallow Hal was a recent movie, the fact that it was possibly still in theaters, when I know that I could probably go to the DVR on my TV and see that the made-for-TV edit is currently playing on TBS. But no, I've never seen the movie.
What?
I've never seen the movie.
Do you
want to do the take? You want to do the take again?
Do you have something against Jack Black?
Do you want to do the take again?
No.
Have you ever seen? Do it again.
No, I think this is good content because obviously I know it's not a recent movie.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, when you start turning into your dad, I think you stop being as... You don't think of things recently. You know what I mean? You have other things in your life that occupy your time other than being up on all the latest pop culture trends. You know, we talked about the Borgs and the Ultimate Wingman. And this is like, oh, this is kids these days where you and I are amazed by it and are like, oh, have you seen this? And if we had 20-year-old friends, they'd be like, yeah, it's old news.
Yeah.
But I know Shallow Hal was on VHS when it came out, so I know it's old.
But I want to transition back a little bit. You were basically saying like this idea of, you know, in your 20s it was more about looking good physically, but now it's more just about finding that balance between the mental health and the physical health. And for me, where I have found that balance has been my hot yoga class.
Yeah, tell me about that. I'm very interested, and maybe I'll dabble because we just found out a yoga studio opened up next to our favorite sushi place.
There you go.
So maybe I'll, you know, do a little yoga, get a little sushi on. We'll see.
Have you ever done hot yoga before?
No.
Okay. So I'll set it up. You go into the room, and the room is between 99 to 104 degrees. Okay? And it's like dry heat. So it reminds me a lot of like a sauna. And normally I can only be in a sauna for like 20 minutes tops. But you're doing all of these yoga poses, and it's physically challenging, but it's also the challenge of turning off your brain and just focusing on the class and what you're doing. Like, for me, it's so hard to turn off the noise in my head, and it sounds like what you shared earlier, you also have this issue as well, that I've found that yoga is that time in my day where I can fully disconnect. And there's not really an experience that I've had when it comes to physical exercise that has gotten me to that point that hot yoga has. The point of physical exhaustion, but also the point of complete mental clarity. So if you do get a chance to try hot yoga, I recommend it highly.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really curious about one thing. Does it smell like shit in there? Like all those hot, sweaty, like in that room, probably not a lot of airflow because it's, you know, you don't have a fan on circulating the air because that would defeat the purpose.
Yeah. So the class is, I'll answer your question. The class is usually an hour to 75 minutes long. And for the first half hour, you're going through it and you're sweating. You're doing all the poses. And then you have half shavasana. So half shavasana is a rest period in the middle of the yoga class where you take about a minute to a 2-minute rest, just breathing, getting recentered, and then you go back into it for another 30 minutes. And then the class ends with a full shavasana where for about 5 minutes you are just on the mat, and they bring around a cold towel that is scented with lavender and orange peel. Oh, it's incredible. To answer your question, people are in there constantly ripping ass.
That's what I was going to ask.
I can proudly say that I have not yet even let out a squeaker.
And you're still too stressed. You're too tight. You're not loosening up enough.
I'm holding on to something.
You got to do butthole yoga. Just expel it.
But you're in this room, and there's about 10 to 30 people at any given time, and everyone is struggling because you've been on a yoga mat before and they're slippery. Now just add constant sweat to that. So you're in a pose like a 3-limb dog, but your hands are slipping because of how wet your yoga mat is. So they say one thing in yoga, and it's all about setting your intention. In every single class, you set a new intention, and then you seal it with the deepest breath of the day. So an example of like an intention that I had for my yoga class I did yesterday was, no matter what pose we're doing, hold it for 3 more seconds after. Right? So even after everyone's out of the pose, I'm still there for 3 seconds after, because that was my intention. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what other parts of hot yoga and just yoga as a practice in general that I adapt into my life, because it has made me a more calm person. It has made me a more focused person. And it's just enjoyable. I love it.
I think I've got a couple thoughts on that. One, dad brain's always evolving. If you think about your dad, his and my dad too. Their opinion on men doing yoga would probably not be appropriate, or you know what I mean, or they'd make some sort of voyeurism joke, about yoga pants. So but now it's more and more like everybody should be doing yoga. The benefits to it are out there. 2, I can't do yoga with anybody I know, especially my wife, because I'm a heavy breather.
The audience knows.
And I'm a mouth breather, as you all know, which I'm working on. I'm actively watching myself to make sure my mouth is closed. All podcast. It sucks. But my wife will not stop laughing if we do yoga together. Like, to the point where we've left yoga sessions because she can't keep it together. Watching me, breathe with my ass in there, she finds it terribly funny. And I put that mental image in your head. I'm sure you're all find it funny too.
There's a lot of research on the heat shock proteins that come into your system when you do something like hot yoga or an extended sauna session. And the benefits are there. So you and your producer do opposite classes. You do the morning, she does the afternoon. Report back to each other. Make it a conversation. My producer is 7 months pregnant, so she's not hitting the yoga mat anytime soon. But that doesn't mean I won't stop talking about it when I come home. Yeah. And, I always wear a T-shirt that will really emphasize how sweaty I am. And it's working like a charm.
Nobody wants to see you do a wet T-shirt contest, Matt.
Yeah, girls gone wild, baby.
We were just talking about getting canceled. That's funny.
It's true. So what are some things that you have noticed that tell you that you're on the positive track for your health in your 30s? Like, a lot of people look at the scale for the answers. A lot of people look to their waist and they see that it's decreasing. A lot of people just look in the mirror. So, like, what are some of those leading indicators, as we call them in marketing, that help you understand that I'm doing the right things?
Me personally, I don't ever go on that scale. Because the scale is a small part of the equation that people get fixated on. And I've never been one of those people, except for when I was in wrestling, which is a different story. But I look, at my energy level, my, depression is huge, like seasonal depression. Not like being clinically depressed, but depression is lack of motivation. So if I'm not motivated to enjoy my hobbies, to even hang out with friends more and more, if I find myself reverting back to comfort food, TV shows, then I know something's not right. Something's off kilter. And it'd be easy if instead of a yearly physical, you had like a weekly physical where they, an outside perspective could always point out, be like, well, there's your problem there. Like I had really bad vitamin D deficiency to the point where I thought it was a serious medical issue. And at my physical last year, they were like, yeah, you're just really low in vitamin D. Just start taking, I think it's like 1,000 micrograms of vitamin D a day. And it turned everything around.
So just a simple blood test lets you know that you have this issue and this is how you can fix it.
Well, yeah, that's what the physical said. But just being more in tune with your body in general, and not look at the scale, I think, is how I take an inventory of myself, every morning or before bed.
And Matt, that's honestly the best way, especially with the dad brain on our shoulders, right? To really look at self-care is to look at it as a full inventory, to look at it as this like status check. And I love the idea of being able to check in with a physician, on a weekly basis to keep up on that. Could you imagine the optimal health that people would be in if that was a thing? But unfortunately, it's not. So we need to be able to look at the decisions, look at everything that we've done throughout the week, and decide like if we need to make any changes, or if we're just living our life and we're understanding that we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to dwell on those mistakes. We're going to move past them, and we're going to continue to evolve, because that's what the dad brain is all about. It's all about evolving and making those changes.
Yeah, and it helps to have other people that are doing the same thing, and they tell you about it, and it's nice. I'm blessed because I didn't just pick up and move to Florida on a whim. I have a good network of friends, yourself included, that are not ashamed or afraid to tell me when they notice that I'm doing something stupid and not taking care of myself, and to just bluntly tell me that I'm treating myself like an asshole. Yeah, like you go out with friends and you order a pound of buffalo wings, they're gonna be like, "Hey, dumbass, I don't want to hear you complain about being on the toilet all night and not getting any sleep, or binge drinking on a Wednesday."
And for you to have people in your life who will hold you accountable like that, like, could you imagine if Kanye had people like that in his life that held him accountable? Like, hey, man, maybe all that stuff about the Jews, maybe we just like keep that to ourselves, right?
Hey,
but
the Jews aren't bad.
But everybody around Kanye is like, he's a genius, he's a visionary, we can't question him. And now look, now you don't see anything.
And that's the bullshit part, because you can be a genius and a visionary and have stupid ideas and take stupid actions, and you can't think you're so transcendental that you can't be reeled back in. before we sign off, do you want to touch into the cosmetic surgery you recently had, or you?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great place to end with the self-care episode, because it really talks a lot about the things that we've discussed today. And my whole entire life, I've suffered from a condition known as gynecomastia, which is essentially just man boobs.
I love that you got a boob job.
Yep, I got a boob job, but it's something that I've suffered from my whole entire life. And no matter what I would do, even when I was running a mile, even when I was doing push-ups and lifting weights, I would always just have man boobs. And it would affect my confidence when going to the pool. It would make my clothes look strange when I wear them, thus affecting, my perception of myself. So when I got the means to be able to make that change, it was the first thing that I did. I was like, I've always wanted to do this. And, I'm 2 months, basically 2 months post-surgery now, and I'm extremely pleased with the results. I'm not going to say it was the best decision I ever made, but it was one of those decisions where I'm glad that I made it, because even though the change is really just for myself, it was worth it.
So are calf implants on the horizon? Maybe a little silicone? The Liver King special?
No, I'm
just kidding.
I don't see a reason for any more cosmetic surgeries. Now, that may change. Who knows? Just because my overall experience with cosmetic surgery was so positive, especially going into it with no experience. Only one other surgery before that under my belt. I went into it nervous but informed. And I left there in a lot better place than what I was when I started.
Yeah, so I think while that surgery to other people might seem ridiculous, I think the positive mental impact it gave you was worth every penny.
Yeah.
Whether, acquaintances, other people might not even notice a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do, you did the surgery for you, not for other people.
Yes.
Which is, I think cosmetic surgery in your 20s is for other people. I didn't have laser surgery to look better without glasses, so that other people, would change their opinion of me because I wasn't wearing glasses. I did it because, one, glasses are a hassle. Two, it just gave me a freedom that I, never had before.
Yeah, you said something there, Matt, where you were basically saying, probably nobody else noticed, right? But I did notice. And just understanding that I'm able to make those changes to still affect my physical body and my mental, just shows the power of the dad brain, because not only is it evolving, it's growing, it's becoming stronger, it is adapting to situations. And I'm setting myself up for success, even with those small changes.
Yeah. I think there we have it, guys. My co-host, Moobs Matt Laminen. I don't think I can call you that anymore.
Can't call me Moobs when you ain't got them, baby.
All right, Four Eyes. I can do that now. Now that I don't have glasses, I can call everybody else Four Eyes. I get to be the biggest dick ever now. But yeah, if you woke up and you wonder why you have gray hair, your piss smells like an old man's, and you're constantly complaining about everyone being in a hurry, smash the subscribe button. Check us out on the gram, dadbrainpod, YouTube, and we're new content every Sunday.
Yeah, we're taking over all the social channels, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, at dadbrainpod for all of those. One thing I want you to take away from this episode is prioritizing your self-care has been important your whole entire life. But now that you're in your mid-30s, it's going to become more challenging if you don't start prioritizing those little things. And Matt and I have different definitions of what self-care means to us, but just being able to share my little bit of experience with it. I've learned things today. I hope you've learned something today. Matt, have you learned anything today? No drinking before the shooting league, right?
Yeah,
You've learned that.
I feel great now. I think I was just dehydrated. I think, look, the best advice I can give you, 1-to-1 ratio water to alcohol, probably the best thing you can do.
Yeah, he's really breaking ground with that one. Staying hydrated
You'll
will
learn
fix
something
most
new every
issues.
day.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for questionable life advice. We'll see you guys later.
Have a good one, guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Dad Brain. New episodes come out every Sunday. Don't miss any. Subscribe today wherever you listen to podcasts. While you are there, help spread the word about Dad Brain by leaving a rating and review. Can't get enough Dad Brain? Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at dadbrainpod.